Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Wednesday vlog. Today I've got a pretty straightforward episode. Just going to be going over some changes in the tanks. We'll see some updates on how everything's coming along. Maybe some updates to the channel that I'm planning on in the future. But yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so first we will start out with Ivy's reef tank. This is Ivy's dog bed underneath her aquarium. She always gets excited when I call her. There's a good girl. Ivy is a German Shepherd Husky, aka good girl. Anyway, yeah, let's check out the tank. So I've really been trying to keep up with water changes, testing, dosing, all that kind of stuff with this tank. And I think it's really starting to pay off. There for a while, I got a little lackadaisical with things, but I really want to turn this tank up, really take it to the next level. And I think, like I said, things are really starting to trend in the right direction. As you can see, I've decided to leave the coralline algae growing all on the back wall. Ultimately, I think it's going to look just as sharp as a all black background if it's all purple. I'm not really sure, but I think there's some benefits to growing a lot of coralline algae. It competes with other types of algae. It uses nutrients, it absorbs phosphates to grow, all that kind of stuff. It does take calcium and alkalinity out of the water, but I'm adding a good amount of that stuff anyway. It's not going to break the bank for me to add, extra calcium alkalinity supplements just to keep the coralline going. But I am really excited about my fish. I've got an anthias here, a lyre-tail anthias, that is changing from female to male. These fish all start out as female, and depending on conditions, tank mates, how many other anthias are in the tank, they will change to male. I think I might have two that are changing though, which could be a very big problem. This one right here is pretty aggressive, and though its colors haven't changed yet, it does have a pointed dorsal fin, which is kind of the number one sign that it might be becoming a male fish. So I'm really just keeping an eye on that. I'm not 100% sure, exactly what happens or what will happen. I just know that keeping two males is not the best idea. So if I have to remove one of them, I will. It'll probably be the bigger one that seems to be a little bit more aggressive. The one that's changing color already is pretty chill, actually. Yep, so I think that's about it. We'll show more of this tank in the future, definitely. And let's move on to the next tank. Move on to the UNS 45U. So in a video a couple weeks ago, I got a bunch of anemones for this tank, and I've kind of decided to turn it into basically like an all anemone tank. Maxi minis, flower anemones, rock flower anemones, mushrooms, anything that could be roughly classified as an anemone. And then I got a bunch of sexy shrimp as well. They're all over that photosynthetic gorgonian, kind of just eating off the diatoms, which I'd like to get into, because if you have seen this tank, or you would have seen this tank over the last couple of weeks, you probably would have been laughing at me. Amateur hour. I think I introduced a little bit too much to the tank a little too soon before it had fully cycled. I had been running it for about a month with lights and everything, a couple of corals, food additions every now and then. And I never got a diatom bloom, which, I kind of just attributed to, maybe clean conditions, adding water from my big reef tank to do water changes in this tank. So I thought maybe, just cycled a lot faster. Anyway, I introduced all the anemones and I lost 3 of them pretty much right out the gate. I know that it's kind of customary to introduce anemones, maybe after like the 6-month mark of a tank. But considering I was adding water from my big reef tank to this tank, seeding it that way, I even got filter media in my filter from that tank. I jumped the gun obviously, but I kind of thought I knew what I was doing and had things going well. Regardless, lost the anemones, super sad about that, but I think I've got things back on track. Rock flower, 2 maxi minis, this big hairy mushroom, all this sexy shrimp. I've got another anemone shrimp somewhere in here. They're all doing really well. Got tons of copepods now, which I'm happy to report. They'll start eating up those diatoms, get this tank looking nice and clean. But yeah, just kind of bummed about how things started out. I got a little complacent, I guess. Maybe thought I was a little bit of, hot S, for lack of another description. Just thought I could handle it. But anyway, we'll see how this tank progresses from here. I think the next thing I want to do, get this Gorgonian looking healthy, and I'm going to snip some of the pieces off and plant them, on the rock here so they're not just sticking up in the back. I really wanted to kind of incorporate into the rockscape. I think it'll look really cool with all the mushrooms that I eventually get, anemones, etc. all kind of tightly compacted to the rock, and then some Gorgonians coming up and out off of that. But yeah, only time will tell. Just keeping an eye on things, water changes, cleaning everything. But at least happy with the way things are looking now. And we're moving on to the UNS 3N. This tank is chugging along, about what I would expect. Probably could have planted a little more densely to begin with. I also trimmed the plants maybe a little too soon before they got rooted. Anyway, everything seems to be growing back pretty well, at least for the most part. Definitely got some algae, but that's kind of just growing pains. I've added some orange bee shrimp that I'm hoping will help take care of some of that algae. This was a plant that I thought it was sold to me as Ludwigia needle leaf, but I think it's actually Rotala. But regardless, it's doing better. This tank's, chugging along. I don't have too many expectations for it right now. It's just starting out, so we'll let it grow and we'll check back in on this one next week. So we'll do 2 for 1 right here because I have finally got my CO2 dialed in on this 60S. I had a really crummy bubble counter that was leaking and I didn't realize it for the longest time, and I just wasn't getting good growth out of any of my plants. Lots of algae. It was looking, for lack of a better word, crappy for a while. But now you can see basically no algae. Plants are finally starting to grow back, especially the Monte Carlo, which I'm embarrassed to even say, took a turn for the worse. That plant is usually so easy to grow. But yeah, basically all it needed was some CO2. So I'm very happy to report that this tank is now back on track and growing very well. The Thanos Aquarium is also growing very well, but you probably noticed that, well, if you've been keeping up, you probably noticed that I moved my beta fish from the Thanos tank to the 60S. He was just always glass surfing. I mean, I know they're always hungry, but I just felt bad. I know they can live in tanks this small, but I really wanted to give him, he was sitting right there looking at this all day, every day. He needed to move to a bigger tank, so I got him in here, and I think he's very happy about it. Definitely looking really sharp. Ate a little food there off the bottom, some extra food that I left around. But yeah, I think the blue beta and the green tank just kind of sharp. I really like it, so I'm happy about that. And the Thanos tank, as you can see, is growing right along. Moss up top, really starting to take hold. The Pinnatifida that I put back there is just growing ever so slightly, but the ones that are in the water seem to be doing really well. The ones down here also doing really well. Slow growers in the bottom, I mean, what can you expect? They're going to take weeks, months to really do anything at all. So we're waiting on those, but happy with both of these right now. As for this vase tank, I think it might be time that I do something different with it. I already took the light off the top and put it on this Mr. Aqua guppy tank. A, because I needed a light for this tank, but B, I'm just not super happy with what I did right here. It looks cool, but it's hard to keep clean. It might just be kind of a sunlight vase. I think I might take the wood out and just let the Vallisneria grow wild in here just from sunlight. It's a little cloudy today, so I'm not getting the best effect, but it usually gets pretty good amount of light coming through right here. Just don't think I need the wood. I don't know, I think it would look cool with the valve growing all the way up. I think maybe I could fill it up even more. What do you guys think? Let me know. This vase has been something that I've never really known exactly what I wanted to do with since I set it up, but cool right now, but just not functional, not for me. And the Lagoon reef tank, of course, is doing well. Not much to report here. Life on the reef is as it should be. Clownfish owning the tank. Royal Grama, cryptic wrasse kind of hiding out wherever they hide out. Mangroves doing really well. Pretty easy stuff. Try to add some bonsai wire where I can. Get some branches to stick together. Get some branches to grow where I want them to, at least so I can get some more light down below. It's always a problem with mangrove tanks. You gotta light them from above, but if you've got anything below, they end up blocking the light. So what do you do? So it's always an ongoing battle, but I do what I can. I've had this tank for almost a decade, so I think I'm doing something right. I won't get into this tank too much. I just set it up in my video on Sunday. You have to check that out. It is growing. I did have one guppy jump out. We don't need to talk about that. I've got a top for it that I keep on it most of the time. But as guppies go, it's kind of something that I was halfway expecting. Anyway, I hate that it happened. I'm trying to do what I can to keep them in there. We'll just have to see how it goes. But they seem really happy. They're eating well, plants are growing. Happy with this one. And let's move on to the 90p. Haven't shown this tank in a while, but as you can see, got quite a bit more going on in there. Definitely getting some good growth out of everything up top from the misting system that I've got on here. Super happy that I was able to set that up, keep all these plants watered and looking happy. I did add a rosette sword plant that's not doing so hot. It was just a Petco plant that grown in one of those little tubes, or at least that's what it was kept in for a while. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I'll end up chopping those dead leaves off, but I kind of want to keep those leaves on there. Maybe it holds some moisture closer to the plant. Anyway, I've got it popped into one of those Wabikusa balls with some sphagnum wrapped around it. Hoping it takes hold. Wouldn't be disappointed if it didn't. Everything else seems to be growing really well. Got the Hemigraphis raponda growing really well. The rabbit's foot fern also growing really well. Yep, just super happy with what's going on up top. We'll check out what's going on down below. I've added some Java Fern Windeloff, I believe. I think it was sold to me as something else, but that's besides the point. It looks like Windeloff. Got a ton more fish in here. Got some more American flag fish that I had in my 60S, but they weren't really liking this high light situation. So moved them over here. they seem to be much happier. My keyhole cichlids are also crushing it. They're looking really good. Still waiting on this tiger lotus to get bigger, but the tank seems to be thriving. Trying to get some of this glare out of the way so you can see what's going on in here. But yep, really happy with this one. Still playing with the lighting. Might add another one of these lights. They're like 20 bucks on Amazon. Really bad glare during the day, but hopefully you can kind of get a good idea of what's going on in there. I've added some Ludwigia repens as well, some of these stem plants. Just want to get a little bit more plant growth in there. Things will come and go. I'm sure I'll pull some of this stuff out. I get excited when I go to the fish store and I always take something home. That's pretty much what it came down to in this tank. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all my tanks. If you've got any comments or questions or suggestions, anything like that, leave me some comments down below. That's it for today's Wednesday vlog, and we will see you again on Sunday for another project video. So if you've made it this far in the video, I think you deserve a little nugget of information about the future of my channel. So probably wouldn't have guessed or know, but I own and operate an aquarium design and service company here in Austin. It's called Aficionados Aquarium Design, Aficionados LLC. And so for the future, I'd like to incorporate some videos into the channel of me, servicing, designing, installing these aquariums. I think it'll be cool to show you guys what I do day to day. Also, more content, more aquariums to check out, more aquarium content. So who could go wrong with that, right? It's exactly what you'd want. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like I said, if you've made it this far, really appreciate you watching. And I got a cool surprise coming in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching.